Welcome back, everybody. This is Walesa from LA Refurbished. For the past several years, I've been transforming vintage and antique furniture for the modern home to save it from going to the landfills. It's not a secret that cane webbing has been a huge hit for the last several years in the interior designer world. One of the things that I love most about cane webbing furniture is that you only need a little bit of time and a little bit of paint to give it an update, and that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing in today's video, so stick around for today's transformation. I scooped up this bench with a cane webbing seat as soon as it hit the floor, as I was just venturing out at the thrift store. It didn't even have a price tag on, but one of the employees that saw me looking at it told me I could have it for $20. Some of the original plugs that were covering the screws were missing. The seat wasn't screw-in and the bench was a little wobbly. Before applying any paint, we will be cleaning the bench and sanding it with the Surfprep sander using 120 grit. My teenager son has been learning some tough but necessary financial lessons this summer. So just like in the last video, he's helping me sand this bench. One thing I noticed on this piece is that it was made of oak, but whatever lacquer they used to seal it with made it very slick. That slickness will prevent the paint from sticking, so it's important that the piece gets sanded until the surface looks flat and dull. To ensure that the cane webbing stays damage-free, I make sure to sand very gently. Once I'm done here, I'm gonna be washing it with a TSP substitute and doing a full assessment of the piece to see what kind of repairs need to be made. As we are washing the bench, we're realizing that it's becoming more and more unstable, and this is why. Screws started falling off. The dowels became really loose, so there's a lot of gluing and screwing that needs to happen before I can start applying primer. I'm gonna try to get it done before the rain comes because the clouds are not looking very good. I know that the clouds don't look very friendly, but otherwise the weather is perfect for painting. So if I can get the gluing and the screws back on soon enough, I just might be able to have time to start spraying paint. Here in our home state, weather can be very extreme. So this year, it was like we skipped spring completely and we went from winter to full-blown summer with some really hot days. If there are a few things that heat and humidity have taught me is that it's not worth trying to paint. Not only does the extreme weather suck the joy out of my soul, honestly, you can't really move that far into your project because things just don't dry the same. So I've learned to take those days off from refinishing. Once I applied the glue to the dowels, I put the screws back in. This should help stabilizing the bench. There used to be rounded head plugs covering the old screws, but for a cleaner look, I replaced them with flat head ones so they would be flush. Ideally, anytime you come in contact with glue or any other chemical, you'll want to protect your skin by wearing gloves. But I kept dropping these tiny little plugs, so I decided to take the gloves off for a better grip. I pound them with a hammer to push them all the way in. I also like to use a paper towel to protect the surrounding areas and avoid any damage with the pounding. Removing any excess glue afterwards using a damp paper towel. For a seamless look, you could also add some wood filler to the circumference of the plug. In other cases, you might need to sand after placing the plug to make sure that the area is flush. Because of the nature of the piece and the wood that I'm prepping, I'm not worried about adhesion, I'm not worried about bleed through, so I'm going straight to painting. Let's start painting the cane webbing, and I really want to go for that natural look. For this part, I mixed 3 parts of water to 1 part of the color Rattan from Lilly paint and apply a color wash to the cane surface. This color wash is going to be key to avoid lumps or clumps between the webbing. For the webbing fibers to stay soft and the new finish to last a long time, make sure to apply the color wash only to one side. This way the other side will have room to breathe and expand. For this part, you want to use a really soft brush. I'm using one from the brand Cottage Paint, and I'm pushing a small amount of the color wash, avoiding any drips. I apply a total of 2 coats of Rattan, waiting half hour between one coat and the next. To paint the body, I'm using Wise Owl Chalk Synthesis paint in the color black. It's starting with a small airbrush to paint the edge that meets the cane. For the rest, I'm uploading my detail finish nozzle from Wagner and spraying 2 coats of black paint. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, when I was looking for a black color paint, this was the only can that I found. And I have to tell you that chalk paint, or this brand at least, feels grainy, which I don't particularly love, okay? I love all-in-one paints, one-step paints, mineral paints that when you run your hand over them, you can feel the smoothness, leakiness, but the grainy ones like this one, I don't love. I guess after you've done this for a few years, you do get a little bit more picky. You might be just fine with it. Some people might not even feel what I feel, but this is just me, and I just feel like I need to share this with you in case you're kind of like me. If you have a bench or chair project coming up, doesn't matter if you're gonna be spray painting it or applying it with a brush, I have a tip for you. Start with the parts that are less obvious to the eye and then move on to the parts that are more visible. I find myself missing less spots when I do it this way. For example, with this bench, I tip it on its back. I started with the base, underneath the armrest. I guess crawling under your piece also helps detect any missing spots, but it's just not as comfortable. The next day, I applied 3 coats of polyurethane high performance flat from General Finishes. This helps a little bit with that grainy feel that the paint has. And you know what? I love the 1 hour enamel from Wise Owl, so the information I'm giving you is only regarding the chalk paint. Let's take a quick look at our before. Let me know what you guys think of today's video in the comments. As always, I love to read them all, and I will see you guys next time.